All right, you guys, well today I thought I'd show you this 2021 Nissan Altima. I'll do a little walk around here. Pretty eye-catching styling, as you can see. Has these dark tinted windows, which I like. Has a nice rear sloping roof right there. Pretty cool design. I've admired the design of this Altima since it came out. As you can see, it is an SR model. We'll pop the hood, show you guys what that looks like. All right, this is the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, just a standard engine. This isn't the VC turbo. I'm not sure if this car has all-wheel drive, but I'll double check. 188 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. Pretty standard numbers, about average for the class. But we'll close up the hood here. Show you guys the trunk space really quick. All right, pretty spacious trunk, and these seats do fold down if you pull these little tabs right here. Under the floor, you do get a spare tire, very nice to have. Show you guys the back seat room. All right, and it's nice and roomy back here actually. Plenty of leg room, plenty of foot space. Pretty roomy car overall, really can't complain. We'll hop into the front here, show you guys some of the features. Startup button is right here. We'll start it up. All right, and this interior makes a pretty solid impression actually. I like this screen in the center. You can scroll over and check out your trip info, your radio station. You got your various settings right here. Driver assistance, tire pressure, clock, vehicle maintenance. All that good stuff is located in this screen right here. You can just set it right here and look at your speed. Pretty nice to have. Over here you have your center screen. It seems to respond pretty well. And the graphics and the interface, they all look good to me. You get your AM, FM, XM, your USBs, your Bluetooth, you have your aux, and you also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in here. Very nice to have. You do have these shortcut buttons, so if I hit menu, it brings me to my radio station. If I go into settings over here, this is basically connections. That's where you connect your device. You can change your sound settings right here. Nothing particularly unusual about this screen, but it gets the job done. It looks good, it responds well. Overall, very easy to use. You also have very easy climate controls, just simple dials, fan speed, temperature. One very minor nitpicky complaint is I wish it displayed like your temperature on like a screen right here, but that's just a little complaint. I mean, these dials, they work just fine and they're simple to use. I think people will like them. Down here you get a USB-C, you get a standard USB, and you get an aux port. You also get a power outlet right here. This is the shifter for the CVT. Pretty nice. They put a traditional lever shifter in here. A lot of people seem to prefer that these days. You get a center console right here. About average, not the biggest, but definitely not like small or unusable either. And you do get a glove box over here. It's a good size. You have your standard steering wheel controls. This controls your screen right here, your volume, your next track, your back button. You have your cruise control right here and your Bluetooth phone controls right here. Over here, you just have your trunk button, your gauge cluster dimmer switch, and your trip reset. But yeah, that about covers all the interior features of this Altima. We'll get this thing out on the road and we'll see how it drives. Pretty good turning radius, pretty smooth ride over this gravel road. And this is a pretty responsive car. I kind of like it. I drove one of these generation Altimas a little bit ago as a rental car, and I thought it felt a little bit lackluster in the response, but that was a base model, so maybe for the SR they tuned up the responsiveness a little bit. But so far it's got a nice responsive accelerator. You just kind of tap it and it goes. Everything, the brakes feel good. Stepping on them now, they got a very assuring bite to them. Very smooth and gentle ride in this Altima. It's very comfortable, but this car doesn't handle too badly. We'll do a little bit of a handling test up ahead here. It gets around with a good combination of refinement but zippiness as well. The steering, it's pretty light actually. It's pretty light and it doesn't have a whole lot of road feel or communication, but it is very responsive and it responds better than other Nissans that I've driven. It's got a nice like darty, sort of playful response to it. Not like a sports car, but it is pretty good. We'll try out the power. You know, it's peppy. It doesn't blow you away with performance or anything like that, but it gets you right up to speed pretty well for what it is. It'll be able to keep up with traffic just fine. I had never felt like this car was slow or anything. It seems to get up and go pretty well. Pretty good power band when you go to take off. You kind of feather the gas and this thing gets right up to 50 without really any issues. So overall, my first initial impressions of this Altima, I mean, I drove it before the video, but my initial impressions are positive. I do like how this car drives. The visibility in here is decent. I can see right over this front hood just fine. The windshield is pretty big. A-pillars are about average. They could be maybe a little bit thinner, but not bad. These side mirrors are big. The view out of the back is where I do have an issue. There's sometimes where like an entire car will like disappear in my rear view mirror. So in terms of like the direct rearward visibility, it could be better. But everywhere else I can see just fine. This accelerator has kind of like a stiffer and more springy kind of feel to it. But it definitely seems to be responding well to my inputs. It doesn't seem like dead or unpredictable. It seems like all there, which I like. But yeah, man, that rear view mirror, I mean, I can't even see the road that's behind me. So they could have definitely engineered that a little bit better, I think. Of course, these dark tinted windows don't really help. A lot of cars today have this blend of like comfort and rigidity. And I think the Altima is another car that does that blend pretty well. I'd say it's like ever so slightly more comfort leaning, but it's not like this car handles badly. It doesn't feel like a boat or anything. It feels fairly light and nimble for a mid-size sedan. I will say this car isn't quite as connected or dynamic feeling as my Honda Accord. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because the Accord is like my car, but I think this Altima, while it does do a really good job, it's a good effort from Nissan for sure. It's just not like the most outright sportiest. It's definitely higher in the pack in terms of the handling, but it's not like the top dog, I would say. That's kind of how the Altima has always been. It's never been like a class leader, but it's a respectable car, and I don't mind driving it. As for the CVT, you know, everybody hates CVTs these days. Even Nissan, with their very newest models, they're starting to ditch the CVT. But I have to say the CVT is better than other Nissans of the past. They made an effort to make it feel more like a regular automatic transmission. It has these like simulated shifts, and it really does kind of feel more like an automatic. It's not so rubber bandy when you start out. It's not vague or like unresponsive like a lot of CVTs are. This thing, it really does just kind of like get up and move. So I do like it. I think the CVT really isn't that bad. It seems to respond decently well. I can't really test out the responsiveness now because we have cars in front of me, but after this traffic clears up a little bit, I'll try to demonstrate how this CVT operates a little bit more. Steering point's nice and straight on this road. Pretty responsive, as I said. They did a good job with it. It does feel like a little bit like rubbery. That's kind of like the best way I can describe it. Kind of like the Rogue in that it's very light and just a little, just like slightly loose feeling, but it's really not bad. Chuck it around this corner. Holds the road with good consistency, has very good road manners. Brakes, as I said, the pedal is a little bit light, but the brake pedal feels very good. They respond quickly. They have a nice bite. They stop the car smoothly. Overall, like A+ on the brakes in this Altima. They're really good. Stepping on the gas here. You know, CVT, it does hold the revs in the optimum power band, I find. There are times when the CVT does feel a little bit focused on fuel economy, I will say that. Sometimes it just kind of kicks up into the highest gear like right away. So that saps a little bit of fun out of the experience, but if you just give the accelerator a little bit of a shove, it'll let you access those higher revs. It'll give you the power that you want out of this engine. Back off these cars a little bit so I can try out the handling a little bit better. All right, we're gonna hit it. A little bit of a slow response from the CVT there, but once it gets moving, it really does go. Handling is good. Honestly, for a family sedan, I say this is definitely a good handling car. We'll try out another corner up here, see how it does. Yeah, you know, honestly, this car, it corners well for what it is. I wouldn't say, like, this car, it's not, like, built around fun. I can definitely tell they didn't design this with, like, fun in mind. But it is, like, responsive enough and darty enough to have an enjoyable experience from it. It's not like Altimas of the past that were just like bland commuter cars. They definitely spiced this new one up a little bit. They made it feel a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more controlled. So I do like that. As you can see, that is like impressive, that level of cornering. steering is responsive. I just wish it didn't feel so electronic, but it is nice and responsive, so I do like that. Feels pretty light in the corners, doesn't really protest if you're going a little bit fast. It just kind of does it. This car is quiet. It's really refined in terms of its road noise and its ride quality. Easy to drive, really not a whole lot of thinking. When you drive this car, you just kind of get in, step on it, and go. As you can see, those simulated shifts. They're pretty quick too and pretty snappy as it shifts into the next ratio. I am impressed with this Altima more so than other Nissans I've driven in the past. It doesn't feel as stale as like your typical Nissan. So they, like I said, they injected some excitement into this Altima, definitely. So up here, we're going to try out the highway performance. It's also a good place to test out the ride. Okay, you know, it's not bad. Pretty settled. The car remains controlled and sure of itself over uneven roads. We're gonna get around this guy. Passing power is pretty good, pretty strong for just a regular 4-cylinder engine. Hits highway speeds at a respectable pace. You're not going to be left flooring it on the entrance ramp to merge into traffic. This thing really does get up to highway speeds without much drama. Try out the passing ability. I put my foot into it a little bit and the CVT delivers a good passing gear. Pretty easy to drive on the highway. We'll try doing a little brake check right here. All right, yeah, very strong, responsive. Pretty much like a quarter of the way into the pedal travel, these brakes respond. So I do like that. We'll take it back on the highway here. I'll try like a hard acceleration, but not flooring it. and there's 70. So yeah, pretty good. We'll try our Cloverleaf off-ramp here. Pitch it into this corner. A little bit, it leans a little bit, but as you can see, this car does grip well. Kind of makes me think that this is the all-wheel drive model. Like I said, I'll double check on that. But I haven't had any issues with like wheel slippage or anything, so I do suspect that this car does have all-wheel drive. But yeah, grips the road well, remains consistent through the corner, does a good job. We'll try sport mode. That's just a little button on the shifter. I believe this only changes like the transmission, maybe the throttle response. Not noticing a huge difference in this sport mode. Maybe it is like a little bit more eager, but not other cars that like totally transform when you put it in sport mode. We'll try paddle shifters here. Not sure why they put those in a CVT car, but we'll try them anyway. We'll downshift a little bit here. We'll upshift. They respond like surprisingly fast for a CVT. I'd say like within like a quarter of a second, maybe a little bit less than that. Pretty much right away. I'm pretty happy with these paddle shifters. I think they do a good job. But we'll put it back in normal drive here. All right, you guys, well, I think I'll end the video here. Pretty sure I talked about everything. This Altima, driving it was a pretty good experience. It's fairly zippy for what it is. Feels pretty light, pretty airy, and easy to drive. It's got a good responsive steering to it, a little bit electronic in the steering, but still pretty good. It's a good effort, and I think that this car is satisfactory. It'll please a lot of buyers in this segment. It's got a smooth ride, smooth engine, pretty peppy and decent handling. You know, it's really not bad. Really not a bad package at all. Not necessarily the best in like any particular category, but it is like definitely like one of the better mid-size sedans out there, I think. But yeah, we'll hop out, we'll shut it off. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.